Under no circumstances should you be wasting your time or your money hoarding and stockpiling these items. What's up everyone? Welcome back to Free to Be. David here, and today I want to talk to you about 10 things that you should not be hoarding during this crisis, during the COVID-19 crisis. You should not be hoarding these items at all because usually the supply chain that provides these tends to ramp up and pass the initial surge in demand. So never a good idea to waste all your money buying these things on the secondary market or spending all your money to stockpile these items because they will become readily available. Also, during this time with, this disease being so easily spread, it's not a good idea to go and spend your whole day going from store to store to store to store looking for one item on this list. It's just not good practice because you're just increasing your risk of exposure. And again, in a little bit time, these items will be available to you, and it's just not worth going and spending all that energy, spending all that money trying to hunt them down. Now, before we get started, as always, if you're new to the channel, please take a moment and click the subscribe button down below. I cover financial literacy on this channel in hopes to bring you guys valuable information as well as tracking my own success and my path to financial independence. And if you're not new, thank you for joining me again. It really does mean a lot to have your support. I do appreciate you coming back and checking out this video. Okay, so there's 10 items on this list that I'm going to be providing that you shouldn't be hoarding because, again, as the demand surges, the manufacturers understand this and will ramp up their supply for you guys. So there's absolutely no reason that anyone should be stockpiling these items, and even less of a reason that you should be paying extra money for these items on the secondary market through eBay. I've seen people buy it, or Amazon. Do not be price gouged for any of these items. There will be plenty of supply in like a week, 2 weeks. So do not be tempted to, pay those exorbitant amount of prices for these items. So the first item is going to be meat. Now, I noticed that a couple weeks ago when I went grocery shopping, there was almost no meat in the freezer section. There were no meats behind the counter. I mean, chicken, steak, you name it, fish. There was nothing available at that time. And I thought to myself, oh my God, are we going to be facing a shortage when it comes to meat? But that is not the case. In fact, a lot of manufacturers like Tyson's Foods have increased their production to get meats back into the store shelves because they were also producing, if you remember, during this time for a lot of restaurants, and those focuses have shifted to bring the retailers the products that they need during this time. So you can expect that you'll see the meat cases filling up again. Just be patient. Again, probably in another week or so, you'll see that everything's kind of back to normal in terms of the meat in your supermarket, in your local grocery store. So don't panic and don't overbuy these items because at the end of the day, you might end up wasting your money on items that you won't necessarily even be eating 2 months from now. So take your time. I do advise you only going grocery shopping once in a while, but just buy a week at a time. Now, the next item on this list is disinfectants, right? Any type of cleaning materials or cleaning agents that you would use in this time to clean up the house, clean surfaces. These are, again, things that I didn't see on the shelf when I went there a couple weeks ago. But then again, when I went to the market the other day, I started seeing a few, signs that these were being restocked because I was now able to find Clorox wipes. More bleach was available because companies, again, like Clorox is now focused on bringing the retailers what they need. They've ramped up their production. They provided overtime for employees to be working in these factories. So the disinfectants, they'll be there in a short period of time as well. Now, the next item on this list is pet food. Again, this is a weird one because I don't understand why people have decided that all of a sudden they need to start hoarding pet food, like manufacturers are no longer going to make pet food. We care about animals in this country. We have a lot of laws and protections in place for animals. So pet food will be there. No one is going to cease producing pet food for your friend, furry friends or for mine. So don't hoard all the pet food that you find in a store. There'll be plenty of production available for those. It just sometimes in these scenarios takes a little bit of time for the supply to catch up with the demand, but the pet food will be there, so don't hoard up on these items. Again, these things have expiration dates, so it's not worth hoarding them when you can just go back out in a couple weeks and buy some more. Now, the next item on this list is hand sanitizers. Now, hand sanitizers, just like disinfectants that I mentioned earlier on this list, probably experienced a huge surge, probably 200–300% surge in terms of demand over the past 6 to 8 weeks, which is pretty crazy, especially if a supplier is trying to, keep up with that demand or anticipate that demand while they're producing those products. And I think it's Go-Go Industries recently announced, and they're the parent company of Purell, that they have increased their production. So more hand sanitizer is on the way. There's absolutely no reason to hoard that item either. Now, the next item on this list is soup. And soup, much like anything else, can be produced in bulk, can be produced in volume. And while people were hoarding them a couple months ago, the same manufacturers that create these soups, the Campbell's, the Chunkies, whatever the brand is, those folks are still ramping up their production. And so you'll see soups will be back on the shelf soon enough. And in fact, last week when I was at the market, I noticed that the soup aisle was completely packed again. So no reason to be hoarding these items. All right, well, this next item is pretty big in terms of what I've seen, in terms of what the world has seen, and that's toilet paper. Now, look guys, toilet paper is essential to a lot of folks, but if you don't have toilet paper, it's not the end of the world, especially given that we're all in our own homes. So we have access to showers, we have access to water. It's not the end of the world if you cannot get toilet paper. There is absolutely no need for you to be hoarding 300, 400 rolls of toilet paper, because that's essentially 2 years worth of toilet paper for, one person. 400 rolls, that might even be longer than 2 years worth of toilet paper for one person. No need to be hoarding that. There will be plenty back on the shelves in a few weeks. Again, this is going to be a scenario where manufacturers will shift their focus from producing commercially to producing for retailers. So there will be plenty of toilet paper left, and there is going to be plenty of toilet paper on the way. There is no need for anyone to be stockpiling toilet paper, especially given the fact that we're all at home and we have access to our showers. So toilet paper, don't buy it in bulk, don't buy an excessive amount, and definitely don't spend crazy amounts of money being price gouged buying toilet paper. There will be plenty on the shelves. Just give it another week or two for that supply to come in to meet the demand. Now, the next item on this list is going to be, again, another type of non-perishable good that is being ramped up in terms of production, and that's going to be any kind of canned vegetables or fruits. Those are, again, items that people did start hoarding on right away as soon as they heard that everything was going to, fall apart and we would all be trapped in our homes. People started going out and buying up all of the canned vegetables and fruits they could find. But again, these things are just simple as ramping up production, and then the supply will be able to meet the demand. So again, if you are patient with it and wait a couple weeks, you'll see that there's going to be plenty of, canned vegetables, canned fruits out there for you to consume. All right, so the next item on the list is Nespresso and Coffee. Again, this is all just a matter of people going and hoarding these items, but there is plenty of Nespresso left, there's plenty of coffee left, and if you can't find it right now, you will be able to find it in a little bit. Just have some patience. It's not the worst thing in the world to give up coffee for a little while. So give up coffee for a little while until you can find it. Don't go crazy shopping around looking for this thing everywhere. It will be there, just give it some time. And finally, the last two items, they kind of go hand in hand, but that's going to be Hot Pockets and then frozen food items in general. Any of these non-perishable type goods can be produced in bulk and can be produced readily and available to you through your retailer. The reason you haven't been able to find these goods everywhere, when you go into a supermarket, you'll notice that the shelves look kind of barren and there isn't much out there for you. And that's basically because the producers, the suppliers, they have to anticipate what the demand is. And in January, December, when they were producing their runs that would hit shelves in February, March, April, whatever, timeline that they produced for, they couldn't have possibly anticipated that the demand was going to be as high as it is. So now what you're seeing here is some of this catch-up period where the suppliers, the producers, are creating more product to feed the demand that is in place now. And typically it does take a little bit of time for them to catch up. Doesn't mean that there's a shortage, doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to get your frozen foods or your toilet paper or your coffee or the other items that you need. It just means that you have to be patient and let these suppliers, let the producers do what they do and create some more inventory for your stores. And if you're just patient and if you just wait a little bit longer, a week or two, you'll see that your shelves will be, replenished and there'll be plenty of inventory for everyone. All right, guys, well, that's the entire list of the 10 items that you shouldn't be wasting your money hoarding or, paying crazy prices online for them on the secondhand market. because again, if you have a little bit of patience, all these items will be back in your stores before you know it. And it goes without saying that you shouldn't be spending your day going store to store, increasing your exposure to this disease that we are trying to flatten right now by social distancing. We're trying to flatten this curve of this disease. We're trying to reduce the spread of this disease. So going store to store looking for toilet paper or soup or any of the items I mentioned is not a good idea either. All right, guys, well, that's all I had for today's video. If you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments down below. Give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see some additional video or content around any of these items, or particularly maybe which one of these companies will do well, let me know that as well. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.